Commander Jack Harris stood at the viewport of the UES Pathfinder, Earth's first true interstellar vessel. The blue-green marble of Earth hung below, peaceful against the black of space. Harris had spent 20 years in the United Earth Defense Force, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. "Commander, sensors are picking up something strange," Lieutenant Gary Mitchell said from his station. "Energy readings unlike anything we've seen before." Harris walked to the sensor display. "Location?" "Just beyond lunar orbit, sir." Appeared out of nowhere. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. After decades of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, it seemed the aliens had found humanity first. "Alert Admiral Bell. Set condition yellow throughout the ship," Harris ordered. His voice was calm despite his racing heart. "And get Dr. Wright up here immediately." Within minutes, Dr. Olivia Wright rushed onto the bridge. Her expertise in theoretical alien languages had been considered a speculative luxury on the mission until now. "Is it true?" she asked, her eyes wide with excitement and fear. Harris pointed to the main screen where strange objects were now visible. 3 vessels, shaped like elongated diamonds, gleamed with an iridescent surface that seemed to shift colors as they watched. "They're not responding to standard greeting protocols," Communications Officer Paul Evans reported. Dr. Wright moved to his station. "Let me try something." Her fingers flew across the interface as she implemented communication theories she had developed over years of research. The main screen flickered and suddenly an image appeared. The bridge crew gasped. The being on screen had blue-tinted skin, large almond-shaped eyes, and no visible nose. It spoke, the sounds musical but incomprehensible. "Working on translation," Dr. Wright said, her voice trembling with excitement. "Their language structure seems to follow mathematical patterns I predicted in my research." After several tense minutes, broken words began coming through the ship's speakers. "Attention. Earth vessel. Violation. Council space. Immediate explanation required." Admiral Samantha Bell's face appeared on a secondary screen. The head of the UEDF operations was a stern woman in her 60s, with gray hair pulled back, in a tight bun. "Harris Wright, what in God's name is happening up there?" "First contact, Admiral," Harris replied simply. "They don't seem pleased to see us. Patch me through to whatever communication you've established," Bell ordered. When connected, Admiral Bell addressed the aliens with practiced diplomatic caution. "This is Admiral Samantha Bell of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization. We were unaware of any territorial violations." The aliens' response came through clearer now as Dr. Wright refined the translation algorithm. "I am Counselor Zexitral of the Galactic Council. Your species has developed faster than light travel without authorization. This is a severe violation of Council Directive 5591. The bridge crew exchanged confused glances. "Authorization? Council Directive?" "We were unaware of any galactic governing body," Admiral Bell responded. "Earth has only recently developed interstellar capabilities." "Ignorance is not an acceptable excuse," Zexitral replied. His tone was dismissive, almost bored. "All developing worlds are monitored. Your development schedule indicated FTL travel was at least a century away. You have accelerated beyond acceptable parameters." Harris couldn't believe what he was hearing. Some alien council had been watching Earth, expecting humans to follow their timeline for development. "With respect," Admiral Bell said, her diplomatic tone slipping, "humanity determines its own path of development." "That is not how the galaxy functions," Zexitral said. "The Council maintains order. Your rapid advancement threatens this order. A delegation will arrive to discuss the terms of your compliance." The transmission ended abruptly. "Did we just get scolded by an alien?" Lieutenant Mitchell asked, breaking the stunned silence. Dr. Wright was already reviewing the communication data. "There's more here than a simple reprimand. They're transmitting coordinates and specifications for their delegation vessel. They expect to arrive in 3 days." Admiral Bell's expression was grim. "Harris Wright returned to Earth immediately. We need to prepare." 3 days passed in a blur of emergency meetings and global panic as news of alien contact spread worldwide. Military forces went on high alert, and civilian space traffic was grounded. Scientists and linguists worked around the clock with Dr. Wright to prepare for the delegation. The alien vessel that arrived was massive, easily dwarfing the largest Earth ships. It took position in geosynchronous orbit above the United Nations, headquarters in New York. In the White House Situation Room, Commander Harris and Dr. Wright watched alongside military and political leaders as the alien delegation transmitted their first message to Earth's assembled United Nations. "People of Earth," began the tall, elegantly dressed alien who introduced himself as High Counselor Dravmore. "For 10 million years, the Galactic Council has maintained peace and order among civilized worlds. We have watched your development, with interest but also concern. Your species is remarkably aggressive in its advancement." "That sounds like a compliment to me," Harris whispered to Wright. "Your warlike tendencies and rapid technological development make you unsuitable for unrestricted membership in galactic society at this time," Dravmore continued. "Therefore, the Council requires that you dismantle your faster-than-light technology and accept Council guidance for the next 500 years. Outrage erupted in the UN chamber and in government centers worldwide. In the Situation Room, Admiral Bell slammed her hand on the table. "They expect us to go back to being planet-bound? For 5 centuries?" she growled. On screen, the UN Secretary-General was trying to maintain diplomatic composure. "High Counselor, while we respect your long-established presence in the galaxy, humanity cannot accept limitations on our peaceful exploration of space. This is not a negotiation," another council member said. "It is notification of your status. Compliance is mandatory." President Helen Clark turned to Admiral Bell. "Options?" "The UEDF has been preparing since first contact," Bell replied. "We have contingencies, but we need representatives on their vessel to gather intelligence." The President nodded. "Commander Harris, Dr. Wright, you two made first contact. You'll represent Earth in direct discussions with the Council. Your official mission is diplomatic, but your actual objective is to learn everything you can about their capabilities and weaknesses." Harris stood straight. "Yes, Madam President." Before departing the next morning, Admiral Bell pulled Harris aside for a private word. "Jack, everything we know suggests these council races have technology centuries beyond ours," she said quietly. "But they're also bureaucratic, complacent. They expect us to kneel." Her eyes hardened. "Show strength, not submission. Humanity doesn't bow to bullies, not even interstellar ones." Harris nodded. "What about our new defense installations?" "Keep them in the dark about those," Bell said with a thin smile. "Let them think we're more primitive than we are." As Harris and Wright boarded the shuttle to the Council vessel, the weight of responsibility was immense. They were no longer just officers, but representatives of all humanity. "Dr. Wright, are you ready to make history?" Harris asked as the shuttle doors closed. Olivia Wright checked her translator device one last time. "I've been preparing my whole life, Commander. If they think humans will quietly step aside and halt our progress, they're about to learn we're just getting started." The shuttle lifted off, carrying humanity's hopes toward an uncertain first step into a much larger universe. The Council ship was like nothing Harris or Wright had ever seen. The corridors seemed to shift and flow, with walls that glowed with soft light. Alien crew members of various species moved about with purpose, some glancing at the humans with obvious curiosity or disdain. "I count at least 7 different species," Wright whispered as they followed their guide, a tall insect-like being who had introduced itself as Vextar, an assistant to Counselor Zextral. "8, if you count us," Harris replied quietly. They were led to a large circular chamber with a window that offered a stunning view of Earth. The room contained several alien delegates seated around a crescent-shaped table. At the center sat Counselor Zextral. "The human representatives have arrived," Vexatar announced before leaving the room. "Welcome to the Council observation vessel," Zextral said. His voice was more melodious in person than it had been over the communication system. "This meeting is a courtesy before formal proceedings begin." "We appreciate the courtesy," Harris said. working to keep his tone neutral. But we have questions about these proceedings you mention. A small, green-skinned alien with large eyes spoke up. They don't even understand their situation. How primitive. Wright stepped forward. Actually, we understand perfectly. You've been monitoring our world, expecting us to develop according to your timetable. When we didn't, you decided to intervene. What we don't understand is your authority to do so. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. A holographic display activated in the center of the room, showing a map of the galaxy with various colored regions. This is council space, Zextral explained, gesturing to nearly 2/3 of the galaxy. It has been so for 10 million years. Earth exists within council boundaries. Therefore, you are subject to council authority. Harris crossed his arms. And if we reject this authority? The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Zextral's eyes narrowed. That would be unwise, Commander. The Council maintains peace through carefully managed development of younger species. History has proven that unrestricted advancement leads to war and destruction. A new voice spoke from the doorway. Perhaps we should show our guests what happens to those who reject Council guidance. A tall, elderly alien entered. His skin was pale gray, and his 4 eyes blinked independently of each other. The other council members immediately stood in respect. High Counselor Dravmore, Zextral said with obvious reverence. We did not expect your presence at this preliminary meeting. I find the human situation intriguing, Dravmore said, studying Harris and Wright carefully. Direct observation often yields insights that reports cannot. Harris felt like he was being dissected under the High Counselor's gaze. This was clearly the being in charge. Dr. Wright, Commander Harris, Dravmore continued, I have studied your species extensively. Your short lives burn with remarkable intensity. You accomplish in centuries what takes other species millennia. Is that a problem? Wright asked. It is, when such rapid development is paired with your species' natural aggression, Dravmore replied. Follow me. They were led to another chamber with a large holographic display. Dravmore activated it to show images of a beautiful world with purple skies and towering crystal spires. This was Axlon Prime, home to the Axloni civilization. He explained. Like humans, they developed quickly and rejected council oversight. The image changed to show the same world devastated, its cities in ruins. Within a century of developing interstellar travel, they engaged in a war with their neighboring system that resulted in mutual destruction. 40 billion lives lost. More images followed. Worlds ravaged by war, environmental collapse, technological disasters. Each of these civilizations believed they were ready for unfettered advancement, Dravmore said. Each proved otherwise. Harris studied the images carefully. And the Council did nothing to help them? We offered the same guidance we offer you, Dravmore replied. They refused. Wright's eyes narrowed. So you let them destroy themselves to prove a point? We allow natural consequences to occur, another council member said defensively. The Council cannot force species to accept wisdom. No, you just threaten and intimidate them, Harris said. Dravmore raised a hand for calm. You misunderstand our purpose. The Council exists to nurture, not to control. Some species require more time to mature. Before Harris could respond, Oyavier, human voice called from the doorway. Commander Harris, Dr. Wright, I see you've met our gracious hosts. A well-dressed man in his 40s entered the room with confident strides. His smile was charming, but his eyes were sharp and calculating. Diplomat Alan Carter, he introduced himself. Earth's official representative to the Council proceedings. Harris hadn't been informed about Carter. He shot a questioning look at Wright, who seemed equally surprised. Mr. Carter arrived while you were touring the ship, Dravmore explained. The Council has granted him observer status for the hearings. Carter shook hands with Harris and Wright. His grip was firm, and he leaned in to whisper, Play along, Admiral Bell sent me, we need to talk privately. Turning back to the Council members with a diplomatic smile, Carter said, I'm eager to learn more about the Council's history and procedures. Perhaps we could continue this cultural exchange over a meal. I understand sharing food has significance, in many galactic cultures. Dravmore seemed amused. Indeed, we shall reconvene in 2 hours. Until then, you may rest in your assigned quarters. As they were escorted from the chamber, Carter kept up pleasant small talk until they reached the human quarters. Once inside, he immediately activated a small device that emitted a soft hum. Anti-surveillance, he explained quietly. Should give us about 5 minutes of privacy. I'm UEDF Intelligence, assigned directly by Admiral Bell. What's the situation? Harris asked. Not good, Carter replied. While you were making first contact, I was smuggled aboard with the maintenance crew. I've been gathering intel for 2 days. The Council is seriously concerned about humanity. We're not following their predictive models. Wright sat on one of the strange curved chairs. They keep talking about these models and development schedules. How could they possibly predict our advancement? They've done this thousands of times with other species, Carter explained. Their science of cultural development is incredibly advanced, but we're throwing off their predictions, and that scares them. Why? Harris asked. Because it suggests we might be able to challenge them eventually, Carter said. The Council maintains power through technological superiority. They selectively share advancements with complaint species while suppressing others. Wright's eyes widened. They're deliberately keeping younger species dependent on them. Carter nodded. Exactly. And here's the real problem. Our FTL drive uses principles their scientists believed impossible. We've discovered something they missed, and that terrifies them. So what's our play here? Harris asked. The formal hearing tomorrow is just for show, Carter said as his anti-surveillance device began to blink. They've already decided to classify humanity as a guided species, which means direct Council control of our technology and government. That's not going to happen, Harris said firmly. Carter smiled as he deactivated his device. No, it's not. Admiral Bell said to tell you, Operation Scattered Seeds is already underway. Whatever happens in that Council chamber tomorrow, humanity isn't putting all its eggs in one basket. Wright looked between the two men. We're really going to defy the entire Galactic Council? An organization that's existed for millions of years? Carter's smile faded. Dr. Wright, humanity has never accepted limitations placed on us by others. We're certainly not going to start with a group of aliens who think they can dictate our future. Harris nodded in agreement. Tomorrow we listen to their demands, gather what intelligence we can, and make our position clear. Which is? Wright asked. That humanity is just getting started. Harris replied. And no one, not even a 10-million-year-old Galactic Council, is going to tell us to stand down. The Council chamber was enormous, with seating for hundreds of delegates rising in concentric circles around a central platform. Harris, Wright, and Carter stood on this platform, facing the 7 primary Council members who sat elevated above them. The air felt heavy with tension. High Counselor Dravmore's voice carried effortlessly through the chamber. This special session of the Galactic Council is now in session. The matter before us concerns the species known as humans from the planet Earth. Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing Earth's solar system, human history, and technological progression. As the evidence shows, Counselor Zexitral stated, humanity has violated development protocols by achieving faster-than-light travel 3 centuries ahead of authorized schedule. Carter stepped forward. With respect, how can we violate protocols we were never informed of? A ripple of murmurs spread through the watching delegates. Many seemed surprised by the humans' boldness. Ignorance of Council law is not an acceptable defense, Zexitral replied dismissively. All species are monitored from early development. Monitored, without consent or knowledge, Harris added. Where we come from, that's called spying. Dravmore raised a hand for silence. Commander Harris, your species' perspective is understandably limited. The Council has preserved galactic peace for 10 million years through careful management of emerging civilizations. Dr. Wright studied the reactions of the gathered aliens. Some nodded in agreement with Dravmore, but others shifted uncomfortably, or exchanged glances. Not all Council members appear to share that view, she observed aloud. Dravmore's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. The Council permits diverse opinions, Dr. Wright, but our decisions are final. A new voice spoke from the side of the chamber. Perhaps we should hear what alternatives the humans propose. Harris turned to see a tall, willowy alien with silver skin approaching. According to their briefing materials, this was Counselor Nix Vala, known for moderate views. Humanity has no wish for conflict, Carter said smoothly. We simply ask for the right to develop our own path, conduct peaceful exploration, and join galactic society as equals, not subjects. Impossible, Zextral declared. Your species is too aggressive, too unpredictable. The development restrictions are for your own protection as much as the galaxy's. We've heard this argument before, Carter replied. Yet Earth's history shows that despite our conflicts, we've consistently moved toward greater cooperation and peace. A temporary phase, another counselor said dismissively. Our models show an 87% probability that unrestricted human expansion will lead to interstellar conflict within 1 century. Harris stepped forward. Your models didn't predict our FTL development either. Perhaps your understanding of humanity is flawed. Dravmore's expression hardened. Enough debate. The council will now present its decree. The chamber fell silent as Dravmore stood. Even among the diverse aliens, he commanded absolute attention. Earth will surrender all faster-than-light technology. Human space travel will be restricted to your home system. A council oversight committee will guide your species' development for the next 5 centuries, after which your status may be reconsidered. Harris felt his blood run cold. This wasn't negotiation, it was dictation. And if we refuse, he asked, then more direct measures will be implemented, Zextral said with a thin smile. The council has already dispatched a peacekeeping fleet to your solar system. Carter's diplomatic mask slipped for just a moment, showing genuine alarm. You sent military vessels to Earth without conclusion of these talks? That's an act of aggression. It is prudence, Dravmore corrected. History shows a 94% probability that species at your development stage reject guidance. The peacekeepers will ensure compliance. Harris stepped forward, abandoning all pretense of diplomacy. Let me be clear. Humanity will not surrender its technology, accept your oversight, or allow your peacekeepers to intimidate us. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Many council races were clearly unaccustomed to such defiance. You have no choice, Zextral snapped. Your primitive defenses cannot stand against council technology. Harris smiled coldly. Don't be so sure. Back on Earth, Admiral Bell stood in the UEDF command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Dozens of officers monitored screens showing approaching council vessels. Madam Admiral, council fleet approaching Jupiter orbit, reported Lieutenant Kevin Ross. 17 vessels, heavily armed. Bell's face remained impassive. Status of operation, scattered seeds? General Lisa Ramirez, a compact woman with intense eyes and close-cropped hair, stepped forward. Colonies on Mars and Europa are fully concealed. Luna Base has activated its shield generator. The Oort Cloud shipyards report all prototype vessels are hidden and ready. Bell nodded. And the Jupiter defense grid? Online but dormant, Ramirez confirmed. They won't detect it until they're inside the activation perimeter. Let them come. Closer, Bell ordered. Let's see what these peacekeepers want. On the council observation ship, Harris, Wright, and Carter were now effectively prisoners, confined to their quarters while the council deliberated. The anti-surveillance device hummed softly between them. They're going to classify this as a rebellion justifying military intervention, Carter said grimly. Wright paced the small room. I've been studying their legal texts. The council has used this same playbook dozens of times. Create impossible demands, claim non-compliance, then establish direct control. Did any species successfully resist? Harris asked. Carter shook his head. None in recorded history. Then we'll be the first, Harris said firmly. The device beeped, warning that its effectiveness was ending. They fell silent as Carter deactivated, and moments later the door opened. A council security officer stood there. You are summoned to witness the peacekeeping operation. They were escorted to a large observation room where dozens of council officials watched screens showing their fleet approaching Jupiter. Observe, Zextral said smugly. Your primitive defenses have not even detected our approach. Harris exchanged a knowing look with Carter but said nothing. On the main screen, the Council fleet formed into attack formation as they passed Jupiter's moon Callisto. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the observation room. Energy surge detected in the Jupiter system, called a Council technician. On the screen, hundreds of previously hidden weapons platforms emerged from Jupiter's many moons. In Earth's command center, General Ramirez gave the order, "Activate Jupiter defense grid." Brilliant beams of energy shot out from the hidden platforms, catching the Council fleet completely by surprise. 3 ships were immediately disabled, their systems overloaded. "Impossible," Zextral shouted. "Their technology cannot be this advanced." In the observation room, Harris stepped closer to the stunned counselor. "We've been preparing defenses since we detected your monitoring satellites. Decades ago. Did you really think we wouldn't notice alien devices in our solar system?" "This changes nothing," Dravmore said, though his confidence seemed shaken. "The full might of the Council will ensure your compliance." Harris looked directly at the High Counselor. "You should know something about humans, Counselor. When someone tells us to stand down, it only makes us more determined to move forward." As they watched, the remainder of the Council fleet retreated from Jupiter space, their peacekeeping mission an embarrassing failure. "This isn't over," Zextral hissed. "You're right," Harris agreed. "For humanity, it's just getting started." The Council ship shook violently. Red emergency lights flashed through the corridors as Harris, Wright, and Carter were escorted back to their quarters under heavy guard. "The Council has entered emergency session," their guard informed them coldly. "You will remain here until further notice." Once alone, Carter activated his anti-surveillance device. "This is our chance," he whispered. "The Jupiter defense was just the beginning. We need to get back to Earth immediately." "How?" Wright asked. "We're prisoners on an alien ship." Carter smiled and pulled a small device from his shoe. "I didn't come unprepared. This will help us access a shuttle bay." Harris raised an eyebrow. "Admiral Bell thought of everything." "Almost everything," Carter admitted. "We still need to navigate through a ship full of angry aliens." A soft knock on their door made them freeze. Carter quickly hid his device as the door slid open. To their surprise, Counselor Nix Vala stood in the doorway. "I have little time," she said in a hushed voice. "Many on the Council disagree with Dravmore's approach to Earth, but few dare speak openly." Harris studied her closely. "Why are you helping us?" "Because I have studied your people," she replied. "Your adaptability is remarkable. Attempting to suppress your development will only lead to greater conflict. Can you help us return to Earth?" Wright asked. Nix Vala nodded. "I can guide you to a diplomatic shuttle. The Council is in disarray after your defense system's revelation. Security is focused elsewhere." They moved quickly through the ship's corridors using service passages and maintenance tunnels. Twice they had to hide from security patrols. Finally, they reached a small hangar bay with several shuttles. "This vessel is programmed for Earth orbit," Nix Vala said, gesturing to a sleek silver craft. "Once you depart, I must report the theft to maintain my position." "Why risk helping us?" Carter asked suspiciously. "The Council has grown complacent in its power," she replied. "Perhaps humanity will be the catalyst for needed change." She handed Wright a small crystal. "This contains information about Council worlds that might be sympathetic to Earth." With quick thanks, they boarded the shuttle. Harris took the pilot seat, quickly figuring out the alien controls. "Let's hope Earth Defense Forces don't shoot us down," he muttered as the shuttle launched into space. On Earth, the situation had escalated dramatically. The UEDF command center was a flurry of activity as reports came in from across the solar system. "The Council fleet has regrouped near Saturn," reported Lieutenant Ross. "They've been joined by reinforcements. Current count stands at 37 vessels." Admiral Bell studied the tactical display. "Status of our forces?" General Ramirez pointed to various positions on the display. "Jupiter defense grid is fully operational. Mars and Europa colonies remain concealed. Our stealth fleet is in position behind Titan." The communications officer interrupted. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission." from an unidentified shuttle approaching Earth orbit. It's Commander Harris. Minutes later, Harris, Wright, and Carter were rushed into the command center. Report, Bell ordered without preamble. The council is split, Carter explained. Some members are calling for immediate military action against Earth while others advocate caution. We have allies among them, Wright added, holding up the crystal Nix Vala had given them, and information about others who might help us. Bell nodded. Good work. Now we need to prepare for what's coming. Which is? Harris asked. All-out conflict, Bell said grimly. The Council has declared Earth a rogue world. They've called on all member species to isolate us completely. Dr. Jason Miller, a brilliant scientist who had helped develop Earth's quantum communication system, stepped forward. We may have a counter to that. We've discovered we can tap into the Council's own communication network. How? Wright asked, surprised. Their technology uses quantum entanglement principles similar to our own research, Miller explained. We can piggyback on their signals to broadcast our message to other worlds directly. Bell considered this. Can we use it to coordinate with potential allies? Better than that, Miller said with a grin. We can show other species the truth about the Council's suppression of technology. Over the next few days, Earth prepared for the coming storm. The secret shipyards in the Oort cloud activated, revealing dozens of advanced vessels that had been built in complete secrecy. Captain Kelly Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Phantom, Earth's most advanced stealth vessel. Her crew was handpicked, the best Earth had to offer. Final systems check complete, her first officer reported. Stealth systems are functioning perfectly. Good, Martinez said. Prepare for shadow operations. We need to gather intelligence on the Council fleet's movements. The Phantom slipped undetected past the Council blockade around Earth's solar system, its advanced stealth technology rendering it invisible to their sensors. Meanwhile, Dr. Miller's team worked around the clock to infiltrate the Council's communication network. When they finally succeeded, the results were better than anyone had hoped. We've gained access to their entire database, Miller reported excitedly, to Admiral Bell, including records of other species they've suppressed. Bell's eyes narrowed. Broadcast it, every bit of it. Let the galaxy see the truth. Across Council space, on dozens of worlds, the carefully controlled information network suddenly carried a different message. Species that had been told they were alone in rejecting Council authority now learned of others like them. Worlds that had been kept dependent on Council technology saw proof that their own development had been deliberately stunted. The reaction was immediate and explosive. On 7 different worlds, protests erupted. 3 Council member species officially demanded investigation into the revelations. The carefully maintained order began to crack. On the Council flagship, High Counselor Dravmore received the reports with growing fury. Find the source of this breach and stop it immediately, he ordered. We cannot, a technician admitted fearfully. The humans have found a way to use our own network against us. Counselor Zextral's rage was palpable. This cannot stand. We must make an example of Earth that the galaxy will never forget. I agree, Dravmore said coldly. Summon Grand Marshal Vrax. It is time to show humanity the true power of the Council. On Earth, celebrations of their successful information campaign were cut short when long-range sensors detected a massive Council armada forming near Pluto. They're gathering a force unlike anything we've seen before, General Ramirez reported. Grimly, Admiral Bell studied the data. They're done playing games. This is their full military might. Harris looked at the overwhelming force gathering against Earth. Can we defeat them? Not in direct battle, Bell admitted, but we don't need to win that way. She turned to Carter. Contact our allies among the Council races. It's time to reveal our final card. What final card? Wright asked. Bell smiled thinly. The fact that we've already shared our FTL technology with 17 other species the Council has suppressed. We're not alone in this fight anymore. Harris nodded in understanding. We're not just fighting for Earth. No, Bell agreed. We're fighting for a new galactic order, and we're just getting started. The massive Council armada moved slowly toward Earth, a wall of warships stretching thousands of kilometers. Grand Marshal Vrax stood on the command deck of the flagship, his gray-scaled skin gleaming under the lights. His species was ancient, bred for war in the early days of the Council. "All ships report ready for battle," his second-in-command reported. "The humans have nowhere to run." "Good," Vrax said coldly. "High Counselor Dravmore has authorized maximum force. We will destroy their military installations and major cities until they surrender their technology." Back on Earth, key leaders gathered in the UEDF Command Center. President Michelle Garcia, a strong-willed woman with silver-streaked hair, had arrived to oversee humanity's response to the threat. "Status report," she demanded. Admiral Bell pointed to the display showing the approaching Council fleet. "They'll reach Earth orbit in 6 hours. Their force is overwhelming, Madam President. Direct confrontation would be suicide." "Then we stick to the plan," President Garcia said firmly. "How many of our allies are ready?" Carter checked the secure communications terminal. "We have confirmation from 14 species. They're mobilizing as we speak." Dr. Wright studied the crystal Nix Vala had given them. According to this data, the Council suppressed anti-gravity technology from the Tellarites, quantum shield modulation from the Brekka, and dark matter drives from the Axani. "All technologies we've independently developed," Dr. Miller noted. "And shared with our new allies." "What about the Phantom?" Harris asked. "In position," General Ramirez confirmed. "Captain Martinez is awaiting final orders." President Garcia nodded. "Send the signal. Operation New Dawn begins now." Throughout Council space, something unprecedented began to happen. On 14 different worlds, ships suddenly launched without authorization. Vessels that had been registered as simple cargo haulers revealed hidden weapon systems. Council outposts found themselves surrounded by ships from species they had deemed primitive. On the Council communications network, a single message broadcast simultaneously in every language. "The era of Council suppression ends today. We stand with Earth." Aboard the Council flagship, alarms blared. "Grand Marshal," an officer called out in panic. "We have reports of uprisings on multiple worlds. Council outposts are under attack." Vrax's face darkened with rage. "The humans have coordinated this. Accelerate our attack on Earth. We will crush them before these rebels can organize." The Council armada surged forward, weapons charging. As they approached Earth orbit, they encountered only minimal resistance. "They're not defending themselves?" Vrax asked suspiciously. "Their defense grid is active but not engaging," an officer reported. "They appear to be waiting." "For what?" Vrax demanded. His answer came moments later. Space itself seemed to ripple behind the Council fleet as dozens of ships appeared from nowhere. They were a mix of designs from various species, but all incorporated Earth's FTL technology. "We're surrounded," an officer shouted. "Impossible," Vrax growled. "Execute attack pattern." His order was cut short as the UES Phantom decloaked directly, alongside the flagship. Before the Council vessel could react, Captain Martinez led a boarding team directly onto the command deck. "Grand Marshal Vrax," Martinez said, her weapon trained on the alien commander. "In the name of the United Earth Defense Force and our galactic allies, I'm taking control of this vessel." Meanwhile, in the Council headquarters, chaos reigned. Reports of uprisings flooded in from across the galaxy. High Counselor Dravmore watched in disbelief as the order he had maintained for centuries crumbled in days. "How could this happen?" he asked as Counselor Zextral rushed into his private chamber. "The humans," Zextral spat. "They've shared their technology with every species we've suppressed. They've turned the lesser races against us." The door slid open again. Counselor Nix Vala entered, followed by armed guards who were not Council security forces. "What is the meaning of this?" Dravmore demanded. "The Council will reconvene immediately," Nix Vala stated calmly. "All species will have equal representation. The era of technological suppression is over." 3 days later, Commander Harris and Dr. Wright stood in the Grand Council chamber once more. But this time, they were not alone. Representatives from dozens of previously suppressed species filled the seats, while the former ruling members sat in a small section, stripped of their special authority. President Garcia addressed the gathered delegates. "We come not to establish Earth's dominance, but to propose a new beginning, a true galactic alliance where all species share knowledge freely and determine their own paths." Ambassador Ryan Clark, a diplomatic veteran with a calm demeanor, stepped forward with a document. "We propose this charter for a new galactic order, one based on cooperation rather than control." From his diminished position, Dravmore spoke up. "You understand nothing of the burden we carried. For millions of years we prevented chaos and war." "By becoming oppressors yourselves," Harris replied. "That ends today." Elder Kuzid-Tral, an ancient being from a species long thought extinct, approached the center of the chamber. The chamber fell silent in awe. His kind were believed to predate the council itself. "I have watched from the shadows as the council twisted its original purpose," the elder's voice resonated. "It was founded to share knowledge, not restrict it, to guide, not control." Dr. Wright realized the implications immediately. "You're one of the founders?" "My species helped establish the first council 10 million years ago," Kuzid-Tral confirmed. "We withdrew when we saw what it was becoming. Now perhaps it can return to its true purpose." The chamber erupted in discussion as species who had been enemies under council rule now found themselves potential allies. 1 month later, Earth had become the center of a new interstellar alliance. Ships from dozens of worlds filled Earth orbit, exchanging knowledge and technology freely for the first time in millions of years. In the newly established Alliance headquarters built in orbit around Earth's moon, Director Frank Lewis prepared to launch the first joint species exploration mission beyond known space. 10 vessels from 10 different species, Lewis explained to a gathering of dignitaries, each bringing their unique perspectives and technologies. Together, they'll explore regions no single species has reached before. Harris and Wright stood at a viewport, watching the diverse fleet prepare for departure. "Did you ever imagine this? When we first set foot on that council ship?" Wright asked. Harris shook his head. "Not in my wildest dreams. I was just hoping we wouldn't start an interstellar war." "In a way we did," Wright said, "but a war against oppression, not against other species." Former High Counselor Dravmore approached them, now simply one representative among many. His once imposing presence seemed diminished. "I still believe you've unleashed forces you cannot control," he said quietly. "The council maintained order for reasons you cannot understand." Harris turned to face him. "The difference is that we don't want to control those forces. We want to see where they take us." "And if they lead to destruction?" Dravmore challenged. "Then it will be our choice," Wright replied, "not one imposed on us by others." As they spoke, the exploration fleet engaged their engines, a beautiful array of technologies working in harmony. The ships accelerated away from Earth, carrying the hopes of a truly united galaxy. Harris smiled as he watched them go. "When the council told us to stand down, we said we were just getting started. Now, look how far we've come."